Welcome, everyone. My name is Tim McMullen. Thank you for joining I think this is our first one we're doing on Slate, isn't it, Logan? It's our first focused webinar on Slate.
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. So real quickly, some housekeeping. We have your mics muted, but you can go ahead and ask questions in the Q&A or the chat. I think the Q&A you have to use. I don't think I think the chat just comes to us, but feel free to do use either one of those to connect with us, and we will try to answer those questions as we go. See a bunch more people coming on. Welcome, everyone. And then what we also do we keep these at 30 minutes for a reason to respect your time, and just we found that it keeps us focused as well. So with that, we'll also send out the recording when we're done, so everybody will get the recording as well. So all right, let's go ahead and get started again. My name's Tim McMullen. I head up the sales effort for our grouper product. So I'm with the company called BIS. There's a lot of you on the phone who don't, or on the call today, who don't know who BIS and Grouper are. So BIS is the company. Grouper is our flagship product. We make an intelligent document processing product that does many things, but that's really its core focus, and that is called Grouper. And we have spent the past 30 plus years. So we've been in business since the late 80s. So we've spent the last 30 years helping people get data off their documents, put it into their business systems, and automate those processes. So that's been our focus. So we're experts at that. The last several years, we focused specifically on higher education as one of our verticals, hence why we're doing this today. We joined the Slate Partner Program about a year ago. We ran into this use case, and we thought that this is something that every single school who does recruitment and has Slate would utilize. So that's, I'm going to leave it at that and let Logan show this. So I'd like to introduce you to Logan Hill. He is our enterprise sales executive who focuses on higher education. Take it away, Logan.
Thank you, Tim. So yeah, as Tim mentioned, I'm the higher ed specialist here at BIS. And this particular use case, I was working with a local university and came across this need for them and kind of worked through some of the challenges to understand, some of the hurdles that they were experiencing. They had a team, people that were having to manually enter these prospect student cards at these different college fairs they were going to. And it was very time consuming. And then one of the things that I also uncovered is not only were they having to manually enter this information, they were having to manually look up a few key details to understand which county that student went to high school or resided in. And that way they could assign it to the right recruiter. So one of the things that we quickly were able to do was not only help them collect all the student information, but get some additional information. And with Grouper, we have the ability to do a couple different things here. We do something very similar at our trade shows that we go to, where an attendee can come up to our booth, they fill out one of our lead cards, and then we take a picture and we email it in, and our software Grouper picks up that email, reads the handwriting, and actually sends the attendee an email explaining our technology using a couple key references from some of the fields that they filled out on the card. For instance, like a favorite sports team, maybe a favorite movie, hobby, et cetera. So that was kind of the general concept. And the whole idea behind this use case is not only, collecting the information and putting it into Slate, but realistically allowing the school to send out an email, text message, some form of communication within minutes from the time that they collect the student information. So I'm actually going to run through this demo with you all, and I'm going to do it a couple different ways. I'm actually going to use a app that we've got in beta right now to do this, and then I'm going to show it to you kind of actually on the screen so you see what the UI kind of looks like. So I have in front of me one of these little prospect cards here that you can see with some handwritten information. And then I also going to grab my handy dandy cell phone here. And yes, I watched Blue's Clues, if you guys caught that reference. You can kind of see here, I've got it pulled up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture here using this app. And of course, it signs me out because I waited too long. Okay. And all right. So what I'm going to do, and I think you guys can see this, a little bit shaky here. Yep, that looks good. And I'm going to upload it.
So while you're doing that, Logan, let me jump in real quick. So when we've done this demo at trade shows, we don't use an app. We take a picture with our camera phone, or with our, the built-in camera, and email it to ourselves, and Grouper's watching a subject line, and it filters out. But when we talked to some of our prospects, they quickly pointed out that now for various privacy regulations that picture can't ever stay on the phone. So we had to build a little quick app to do that. And that's what Logan's showing.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So I am actually going to turn off my webcam for just a minute to kind of show you how this works. So the app that I mentioned that I used on my phone, this is what this looks like here. So if I click start here, it should access my webcam, and then I can move you guys out of my way real quick so I can see. Then I can, this is weird because I'm not left-handed. I can capture, kind of shows you what that looks like. I'm not logged in at the moment through this one, but then you can click upload and it will upload the document. So I wanted to show you this kind of UI here. So let me pop over here to Grouper. So once that picture is captured and uploaded, Grouper is actually pulling that information in, that image that we just took, and it's going to kick off the process. So the first one is simply just identifying how many pages. So for instance, the way this worked, it's on a polling loop to pull them in. I think I have it set to 15 seconds. Obviously we can vary that as needed. So if you took, multiple pictures and uploaded them, you could have multiple pages essentially. So the first thing is we're identifying how many are in there. From that point, we're going to read the text, read the handwriting, collect all that information, and then allow you to review it. Now, with handwriting, let's be honest, we're talking about students here. I've personally processed hundreds of these as I was building out this use case. And let's just be honest here, the student handwriting is not that great. So we have this step in here to, maybe you have a few recruiters out in the field at the college fair, and maybe you have one back just kind of reviewing some of this information just to verify it comes in correctly. So what you're seeing here on the right is the actual image that I just took. And you can see over here on the left, the information that was collected. So you can see, name's perfect. The date of birth is good. And this is one of those handwriting things where this right here is actually an L, but it came in as a 1, which is a common misconception there. But it's really easy just to backspace L, make that correction. It looks like the phone number. That's good. Business, correct. And it looks like it grabbed the wrong high school here. So I'm just going to update that. Now watch what happens when I do this. When I do that, it will actually reperform this lookup, and it will update the high school county, which is Grady, in the city of Tuttle here in Oklahoma. Graduation year is correct. Now, one thing to verify is I can come over here and actually adjust this and look at the text that we pulled in from this document here. When you can see where it was able to get Tuttle, and most of this handwriting is actually correct other than the one on the email. So we do allow you to kind of view and see that kind of information as well. Now,
so Logan, let me just interject really quickly that to let the people know that aren't familiar with Grouper. So Grouper was designed to facilitate this kind of very, very quick validation of data. So that's why you see this presentation. You don't have to use the fields that we've used. This is completely configurable. So this could be as many or as few fields as you need. The idea being you're gathering up the information here that ultimately you're going to put into Slate. But we try to facilitate that so it's an assembly line, so to make it really, really painless. As you can see, we're just validating the data, not having to type all the data. And we can put rules in place so that we can catch standard validation errors, which I don't think we've turned on any of that here, have we, Logan? I mean, there's no validation. We're just kind of giving you raw data right now, right?
Yes, that is correct. That's where I was going to go with this next. One of the things that we can do is, obviously, prospective students, and unless they're just, on top of the game and know all of the different programs that your school offers, we could, where we have their program of interest, right here, they can put business. We could have a separate field that basically looks at your list of possible programs and finds the closest match and makes the recommendation that way. And obviously with this, interface, you would be able to go review that. It could be a drop down and you can adjust it as needed. One of the other things, this particular use case, I was talking with a local school, and they actually have check boxes on their card where it says, basically, I want to know more information about, scholarships, financial aid, student housing, degree programs, or potentially Army National Guard programs. So if they were to check that box, we can actually use that as a mechanism to pass over to Slate if you have a workflow set up for that to do outreach and send them information, or potentially, which you're about to see here, we can do that within Grouper too. So it doesn't have to be just the fields here. We can actually use these to trigger things down the road as well. So now that we have all of this information correct, I am going to complete this task. Oh, I have to save it first. And one thing just to point out real fast, we do give you a little bit of control over this where I can actually toggle it where it's up and down. side by side. You can swap it. If you have two monitors, you can actually click this one here and it'll put the image on one and all this text on the other. And then we do make it very easy to change from light mode to dark mode. So, and again, all this right here is configurable. However, you want to adjust it if you want it to make it look and feel like it's a part of your university with color schemes or, however you want to organize it. Like Tim said, we can do that. So I am going to complete this task here. And once this is good to go, you can see here, we're sending it to Slate. Now, one thing that I just mentioned about, getting communication out very quickly, you can see here we have this send mail activity. That is because on the Slate side, we don't have it set up in our test environment to send out an email just yet. But I wanted to show you realistically, what that could look like if you don't have that workflow necessarily set up in your Slate environments or using the email or text methods that Slate has available. Then we could do some of that within Grouper. We do that ourselves at our trade shows. And let me see here. Let me open this up and drag it over. So you can see here, I just got this email. It actually is using some of the fields we collected. So for instance, if you remember, Colin mentioned he was interested in the business program. So you can see that here. You can also see that we have a link embedded here that works. So I can click that. I think I got to click Control click for a second here. You can see that is now popping up, takes you right here. I just dropped the link from our website in there. And let me go back to my email real fast. And you can customize this, however you want it to be. I used Tim since he's on the call here and just kind of dummied up an email. And you can see it actually got his name correctly. So just something kind of cool that we can do within Grouper. But obviously, if you have this set up within your Slate environment, I think that might make the most sense.
So one of the neat things we can do on this, though, is we have an integration with the large language models out there. So what we do in production when we're at shows is we have it write. We have essentially GPT compose the email, and it gives you a lot of flexibility to respond and personalize that message back to the specific student with information they filled out from their card initially. So we've had really, really good responses on it. We get silly with it, but you can make them very, very strict. So I don't think you used GPT on that too, didn't you, to compose that? Or did you just do it straight? Okay. So that is available. That's fully integrated with the product as well.
Okay. So for this demonstration, I am actually using the SFTP portion of Slate. We can use the API, but we chose to do the SFTP for this demo just because I can kind of show you a little bit more in depth about kind of how it works. So we have an incoming and outgoing folder. In this incoming one, that Snapper beta app that I was talking about, got two folders here. So one of the things that we're doing is when we take that picture, it comes into this pending folder. That's where Grouper is looking to pull that in. And then when we come over here, this is where that image is going to be moved to show that it has been processed. Now, we can, move this image if we wanted to. I have it moving from obviously one folder to another. Now, realistically, what we could do if you don't want to keep these images within the Slate environment, we can actually pull that image out of this SFTP and then go put it into your content management system. If you use, SoftDocs, BDM, Highland OnBase, something along those lines, we can actually move this out of Slate and go put it in there for you if you like. So let me pop back over here, and then we're going to pop over into this folder. And you can see here is this CSV file that we just exported out. Now, I'm sure, with you guys being the Slate experts that you are, there is a, polling loop I think it's 15 minutes that it takes for this stuff to get, pulled in. So I'm going to manually just, push it in real quick for the sake of this demonstration. So open real quick and good to go there. So now should be able to come up here. I think I got to refresh. Let's do it to be safe. And here is the record that we just created. You have birth date, the age. You can come over here to this contact card here. You can see the program of interest, school, graduation year. All of that is now right here. Now, if you wanted to, we could post that material here, the actual image, to bring that over here. But it's been my experience that keeping these, contact cards inside of Slate has not been the, standard practice. Doesn't mean we can't do it. So that kind of walks you through what this could look like. And then here, obviously, is where it's kind of open-ended. If you have, again, as I mentioned, workflows or communication steps within your recruitment process, this would allow those to get, kicked off a little bit quicker. Or as I mentioned, we can use Grouper to do that. The idea being is realistically, you can have email, text message, both to that, prospective student with, a link to apply, more information about scholarships or, housing. Maybe it's financial aid. Maybe it's their program, of interest. It's kind of limitless at that point of what you could do. But getting that information, in front of them, why it's fresh in their mind is, in my opinion, at least in the conversations I've had, very crucial into recruiting that student to come to your school. So I'm going to pause there and stop this share real fast. I know I talked kind of fast, and there's many of you that aren't familiar with groupers, so let you guys ask any questions from me and my team.
So the questions we've had so far are about what we just were talking about before the webinar, about being able to track through what events you're at through a batch metadata. So we went ahead and answered that. So yeah, we can easily add metadata to a batch. However we want to do that, there's various ways to do that, whether we would add a field with an event name or have that on the form already. And one of the nice things about this is once you have this set up, we're not form based. So this form does not have to look exactly the same every time. You could have a different form for every one. Matter of fact, we built this thing pretty quickly and just printed them off. So because the key is the data on there, and with the way we're doing extraction is we're just pulling the data based on the formatting of the data and using some LLM help to get that. So what that frees us up to is we don't really care where the data is, right? As long as we've OCR'd it, which is one of the critical parts, is getting that good OCR, we can pull data from anywhere. So you could have different forms. You could have a barcode on here. You could have a handwritten, a field for which event this was, and we could track that all the way through. And then the other question we had, Logan, was on cost, which I know we didn't talk about beforehand, and we could probably get to at the end because we have a couple different cost models that we can go through. But I just had a bunch come in, so hold on a second now as I'm paying attention. So somebody asked if we would partner with Slate to have that camera and upload feature to the event created in Slate. I think we probably have to ask our resident expert on that with David Barbero to comment on that if he's familiar with that. And then the other one is there a functionality that allows the recruiter on the road to snap the picture, but to someone in the office to verify data before loading the Slate? Yeah. So let me answer that one first. That's absolutely how the product is set up. So the capture of the fields or the documents is completely separate from the indexing. So somebody can be sitting at the office and they can go through what Logan was showing, that validation screen, and they can do that validation before it goes to Slate, because obviously that's the key, is to make sure that data is correct before it goes into Slate. And we can do validations in there as well against Slate. We just didn't set that up. So there's a lot more we can do there that we just didn't set up for purposes of this demo. So David, do you have a comment on the event feature?
So the event data is core to Slate. So, like any of the other data, you can definitely match on it. So per batch, you could set an event for all the pictures, being taken in a given period, or it could be part of the configuration. So event data would match or be uploaded in the same way that person data would be, if that makes sense. Does it answer your question?
I think so. I mean, the question was specifically more of if we know will Slate pull this through, and I think that's obviously something we're talking with Slate about. But they've been great to work with, and historically they're going to let the partners build these solutions. The nice thing about Grouper is we're so flexible that what you saw was about that this application is just a couple days worth of work as a sample. So what we really can do is sit down and figure out exactly what you want, what your requirements are for your institution, and we can take those forward. And somebody just asked, can this be used for any form or for documents and applications? Yeah, absolutely. So we can extract. Our claim to fame is extracting data off of documents. We don't really care what type of document. We have chosen to focus on higher education in the last couple of years because it's very document heavy. There's a lot of value we can add there, but we do everything from medical to accounting and everything in between. So yeah, you can use this application for any type of form. We drive scanners directly. So if you have a bunch of paper sitting around, you can actually drive high-speed document scanners directly. We use this in our service bureau, our document migration center here in Edmond, and we do millions of pages a month through that system. So that's how most people actually use the application. Okay, Logan, I think you're back up. You're muted.
Yeah, I muted while you guys were talking. I didn't want to get any feedback or anything. And so you got to this last question that I see here from.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, perfect. I do not see any other questions in the queue here. So I just want to say I really appreciate all of you jumping on this webinar. You should be hearing from me here pretty soon, or feel free to reach out to me with any questions, and look forward to it. Appreciate all of you.
Thanks everyone for your time. We appreciate it. We give you some time back in your day today. Thanks very much.